We first had Chronojet, then we got Altmal, and now we got Ahsha.
Stand up! Vanguard!
Hey Cardfighters, welcome back to another Cardfight update, and today we had yet another live stream, and this time it was the final trial deck for Nectar that was getting the spotlight, and with already Chronojet Dragon and Altmal already revealed, we knew what was coming next. It was of course our best girl Ahsha in the spotlight. And that's what we got. We got the new reveal for Ahsha as well as her new mechanic, the fairy token of Ahsha, and we got another card for the trial deck to round everything neatly up. So without further ado, let's jump right into these reveals. There aren't that many, but there is still a lot to talk about with Ahsha and her new mechanic. But before that, let's talk about her support grid 3 of the trial deck, that is Gentle Knight Orvel. And Gentle Knight Orvel's ability is continuous on Vanguard as well as on Rearguard Circle. During your turn, if you have a unit with the same card name as your Vanguard on your Rearguard Circle, this unit gets power plus 10k. So for our premium players out there, this sentence sounds very familiar. It's basically once again a Bloom-esque type ability where you need multiple copies of the same unit onto the field to get benefits out of them. And in this way it's a little bit different in the fact that you need to have a duplicate of your Vanguard, but as seen as it also works with herself, means it's a little bit more flexible, as you can have her as well as her on the Rearguard Circle, and that can fulfill it. But you can also have her on the Rearguard Circle, and then have a Vanguard that is Ahsha, and then an Ahsha to the Rearguard Circle as well. And I'm highlighting that scenario for a reason, as we're going to get there in a second. But overall on this card, it's a nice beater. It's 23k, it isn't really overall special. It's fine that it also has the force marker, but it's just a trial deck support card, and it allows us to have a glimpse in what type of direction Nectar might head towards with the upcoming support with Ahsha in this trial deck, as well as the spinning Ahsha from the upcoming extra booster set, the next stage. But with Orvel out of the way, let's get into the real meat of this video. And that's of course the main unit of this set, Ranunculus, Flower Maiden, Ahsha. And Ranunculus, Flower Maiden, Ahsha's abilities are the following. Her first skill is Auto Vanguard the Rearguard Circle. When placed, cost counter plus 1, call up to 2 plant tokens to the Rearguard Circle, and this unit gets power plus 10k until the end of turn. This sounds very familiar, as it's a very familiar skill like Maiden of Trailing Rose. The only difference is that this skill gives you power on the unit itself, and it also works on Rearguard Circle in full capacity, as Maiden of Trailing Rose gains the most benefit from being a Vanguard unit. In this case with Ahsha, it can also work as a Rearguard unit. And that is a very nice addition for premium, as it means they can now mix and match with multiple Vanguard grade 3 lineup, and they will always have a good right target. And this is also a nice superior call unit to call out with Katrina, as you can then generate even more plant tokens, and itself can generate extra power, as she can be a solid 23k unit on the Vanguard slot or also on a Rearguard spot itself. So it makes it a very flexible unit for as well standard as premium to give some good solid foundation for a powerful place. But if that was everything, it wasn't really that notable and that interesting to talk about. But then we get to her second ability, and that's actually her main effect, and that's Act on the Vanguard Circle. Once per turn, cost retire 3 rearguards and call an Ahsha's Flower Fairy token to the Rearguard Circle. Ahsha's Flower Fairies are grade 0s and have an ability to become Ahsha. Before we go into any detail, let's discuss this Ahsha's Flower Fairy token. So here we have the new token for Nectar, and this Ahsha's Flower Fairy token has the following abilities. Continues a Rearguard Circle. This unit has the same card name as your Vanguard with Ahsha in its card name. So that's a very interesting thing, and we're going to get in that in a moment. And its second ability, and this is what we knew beforehand, is Auto Rearguard Circle. When it attacks, choose one of your Vanguards with Ahsha in its card name and increase or decrease this unit's power and critical to match that unit until the end of that battle. So this is what we already knew, that we would get a token that copies the Vanguard's power and critical. Now we finally know how it is created and what the timing is for its copying ability. And this is what I hope for it to be, that it waits at the last moment to copy the power. Because now we can power up Ahsha all the way through some insane levels and get the most value out of this copy ability, as we can power it up with cards like Irminsul, give it extra 5k power. Also, Ahsha, her own on plays effect, gives another 10k power. We have another card from the trial deck, the old 8k vanilla grade 1, that gives another 5k to the Vanguard. All those powers will stack up to Ahsha as a Vanguard unit. Then we drive check, we get a couple of triggers maybe even critical triggers, we can stack it all in the Vanguard. We also have our force markers, don't forget that as well. And all that power will then be transferred over to this fairy token the moment that this fairy token will attack. So it's very likely that you will always attack with your Vanguard first. Most likely will give all the trigger effects to the Vanguard, so your Vanguard is gonna get the pressure, but also this token will then copy it for no cost, of course, besides the retiring 3 rearguards. And it makes it a very solid offensive play. The only downside to this card effect is, and this has also been explained in a Q&A segment in this week's livestream, is that if you look closely to this card, it doesn't have any extra ability printed on it underneath the grade. We see this grade 0 number, but we see no boost, intercept, twin drive, triple drive whatsoever. This means this card cannot boost, this card cannot intercept, and this card will not drive check when attacking, unlike something like the vision token. And another thing is that this card can be boosted. That's no issue. It can be boosted by grade 1. However, the power of that unit's boost will never matter. Because the moment that you boost with it, you then are going to declare the attack. And the moment you're attacking, then it's going to copy the power of your Vanguard. So the extra power that it got from the boost will be negated, as it then is immediately transferred to what the Vanguard is at that point. So boosting might sound bit bad or awkward with this unit. However, there is, in some scenarios, this could be a good thing. And what I mean with that is, if we got skills that work similar in the vein, like when this unit boosts, do this event, or when this boost, give a unit this effect or power. Those skills can still activate, it will be fine, as you can give it to another unit in the other column. Also skills that state, when the attack it boosted hits, those will still interact with this unit. However, skills that state, when boosting, give the boosted unit plus 5k power, those abilities won't activate, or at least those won't matter, as the Ahsha Flower Fairy token will override those increases to copy the power and critical of your Vanguard when it's attacking. So keep that in mind when you're utilizing this token. So now let's look back at Ahsha as a whole picture, and there are some interesting things about this Ahsha in general, as she herself, for a counterblast, can generate 2 tokens, and then if you call another card, you can then sack those units off to create the Flower Fairy Ahsha token. An interesting insight is that you create the Ahsha token for 1 counterblast and a potential discard, because you're going to sack an extra unit, and that can just be another token that you can create for free. So that's actually a pretty good value, because in that counterblast you also give your Vanguard or another Ahsha an extra 10k power, which will then be copied by that Flower Fairy token as well. So that means you get even more benefit out of it. So there is a lot of value that lies in Ahsha herself. And with these cost effects, there are some interesting things that we already can see, because of course we have the Power Rise Elixir as a order card that comes within this trial deck. That will synergize with this mechanic, as we can counterblast to give Ahsha another extra 20k power, but then once token is gonna attack, it will also get the 20k power increase of the Power Rise Elixir as well. So even more value out of that single card. So we see that as a good interaction. But also with another card of the previous set, we have Maiden of Protea, that when we call to the field, she has an ability to sacrifice herself to create free plant tokens. This means we can have a single card in our hand that substitutes as a potential fairy token. That's actually pretty nice, and it gives a lot of value to that specific card. As in the previous support with Ouroboros, it was just to create free 30k tokens that can just be utilized with other effects, but was still very limited, as the moment you flood your board, you don't really do that much. With Ahsha, the way that you're sacrificing this much tokens for one unit means that a unit like Maiden of Protea will suddenly have more value, as you will have the room to create those free tokens and then immediately get the extra benefit from them. So there might be an interaction with that maybe in an Ahsha specific build, 1 or 2 Maidens of Protea will be run just to have a free token generation for the Ahsha Fairy token. But an important thing to highlight here is that this new Ahsha Flower Fairy token is not a plant token. It's a Ahsha Flower Fairy token. This means all cards that specifically work with plant tokens won't work with this new token, with this new interaction for Ahsha, this new mechanic. And that means some cards of the previous set with Ouroboros won't really interact well with this. And also, for the premium side, this won't interact with the Katrina Stride, as it's not a plant token. However, when we go to the premium side, there are a lot of interesting things here, because the token states that it will copy the power and critical of the Vanguard if it has an Ahsha name. The way how premium with strides works is that the stride will copy the name of the hard card. So if we have an Ahsha hard card, the stride will also be called Ahsha, meaning the token will get the power of the stride. And the strides are generally a lot stronger than a typical grade 3s. Meaning the token in premium will automatically be a lot stronger. Also with triple drives, that means more potential to hit triggers, so there's even more for that. And of course, the premium side have a lot more cards that can potentially power up your Vanguard, which can then makes this token even better. Also, another interesting thing with this token is that we got a stride for Neo Nectar that is Lieta. And Lieta synergizes really interesting with this card, because Lieta's ability states that it will copy all the names in the soul, and that will be the name of the Vanguard. Meaning, the plant token will copy the Vanguard's name. So, if we activate that skill of Lieta, that means Lieta will get like 7 different names, depending on how full your soul is. But then the token will also get that much of names. Meaning, it can synergize with a lot of bloom potential and bloom combos. I don't know how powerful that is, but that's at least an option available for you Neo Nectar and Bloom players out there that wants to experiment with this interaction. So keep that in the back of your head, as that can be potentially something new for premium. But another thing for premium, and this is something that cannot be used right now, but once the next stage set drops, it can. And that is the Dream Spinning interaction. And what I mean with that is that Neo Nectar with the upcoming set can have a pseudo Gear Chronicle pseudo stride effect interaction. And how that works is you will have Ahsha as your Vanguard, you ride up to grade 3, you create the fairy token, and the following turn you're gonna stride. And if the token is still on the field, the token will have the same name as your Vanguard. But the stride you're going to is very important, because we're gonna stride into Dream Spinning Ahsha. And with the new set, the new VR, we have Dream Spinning Ahsha as a main deck unit. Meaning, the token will now also be named Dream Spinning Ahsha. Then we can copy the token and superior call a Dream Spinning Ahsha from the deck to the field. Is that something good? I have no clue. It all depends on if Dream Spinning Ahsha will get a rearguard skill. If she has, this can be a potential interesting interaction for premium that could be either a fun gimmick, a fun budget deck option, or the new meta competitive deck. What the answer is, I have no clue. That all depends on what Bushiroad is going to do with Dream Spinning Ahsha as a unit. But also within that, you might have already have guessed it or noticed, these plant tokens won't go away. Division tokens would disappear when after you ended your turn and it attacked. And that was a very strong token. This new fairy Ahsha token is also a very strong token. However, it stays on the field. Meaning you can create one token, it stays, and the following turn, in standard at least, as you're not going to stride, you can create another token. And you have then 2 of these fairy tokens in the front row, which means you will have 3 very strong attacks going at your opponent's face. So that is a very strong contender here, and that's the reason why it can also synergize within premium, as you can ride up first to grade 3, create a fairy token, and then next turn you're gonna stride, and if it's still there, if you're not up against a control deck, or they didn't try to kill it, it then can copy the power and the criticals of your Vanguard, making it a very strong and solid token. The only downside is it doesn't interact with the Katrina token playstyle, and you will sacrifice multi-attacks to get that very strong attack off. So depending on the rest of the support of the upcoming booster set, this can be pretty solid for premium. Ahsha on her own opens up more accessibility and more deadly interactions for the Katrina token playstyle, but there is a potential that she can be her own unique thing with the way that it copies the Ahsha name as well as the power and critical. Because first, I thought it was only going to copy the power and critical, but the fact that it will also copy the name is insane. But that basically sums up everything for these new reveals. wasn't really a lot of cards. We only got 2 actual cards and a pseudo card. But the way how this Ahsha interacts with the Ahsha Flower Fairy token is pretty insane, as it interacts and synergizes with a lot of potential cards in Premium as well as Standard. And there is a lot more potential out there with the upcoming support. So I'm very excited again. I'm very happy that I already pre-ordered my cards for the Ahsha set as well, as this is going to look very interesting and it looks to be a very fun deck. Besides, of course, Gear Chronicle, which is, of course, always number 1. But now I want to know what you guys think of these new cards for Neo Nectar. Are you very excited the way that Ahsha is going to be played? Are you excited with this new skill that you got? As it's somewhat an homage to how Bloom worked and her old self. And I'm happy that they did that, as they could just go with a generic plant token-esque playstyle. But the way that they did it, with also that it copies the name, and we're going to see this more multiple names synergy cards, I'm very happy that they did, and I'm very excited for the future. So let me know in the comments down below all your thoughts and opinions about the card, and what do you think can happen for Premium with this card, as there are, of course, countless combos and options out there that I even overlooked and didn't realize at the making of this video. So hit me up in the comments down below. As always, this video has been brought to you by our lovely patrons over at patreon.com/Vanguard Insider. You guys are amazing. If you do want to support the channel or everything that's happening on the channel, head over to patreon.com/Vanguard Insider and become a patron today. But with that said, I'm Mr. Time Leap, and I see you guys in the next one!